You're working harder than ever, right? You're grinding away, putting in the hours, pouring literally all your energy into your career, but somehow you're still falling hopelessly behind financially. Look, you absolutely aren't alone. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the mystery of why wealth feels completely out of reach for the modern worker and how the underlying rules of money have quietly shifted right beneath our feet.
For decades, our parents and grandparents swore by one golden rule. Just put your head down, work hard, and success is guaranteed. I mean, it was practically the social contract of society. You do the labor, you show up on time, and the economic system rewards you with a stable, comfortable life. Simple, right?
But let's be real. Today's reality is a stark contrast to that old dream. For millions of hardworking people, the modern reality is just pure exhaustion and financial stress. We're putting in longer hours than ever before, yet falling further and further behind. Traditional milestones, like owning a home, they feel completely impossible to afford now. Savings accounts feel basically meaningless against the rising cost of life, and burnout isn't just a phase anymore. It's literally become the baseline, normal state of existence for the modern worker.
So this brings us to a massive, really uncomfortable question that we have to unpack. Did millions of us just suddenly get lazy overnight? Did an entire generation just lose their work ethic? Or did the entire financial system secretly change while nobody was looking? Because if we aren't lazy and we are working harder than ever, there has to be a structural reason why the math of everyday life is just no longer adding up.
Think about it. There was a time when a single average income could comfortably support an entire family, buy a home, and still leave room for savings. Today, the reality is totally different. Even professionals earning what we used to consider really decent money are feeling completely trapped and financially squeezed. The value of our labor just doesn't stretch the way it used to. And because the math doesn't work, we fall into this incredibly dangerous psychological trap. When you can't get ahead, you internalize the struggle. You look in the mirror and think, man, I'm not working hard enough, I'm behind, I'm failing. We end up blaming our own individual effort, fully believing we're just failing at life, rather than realizing we are playing a game where the rules have fundamentally changed. So, let's step back and break this down. The old formula versus the new paradigm. Back in the day, hard work actually bought you real, tangible stability. Why? Because the cost of living was fundamentally lower. To put it into perspective, in the 1970s, an average home cost roughly twice the average annual salary. Today, it can be 5 to 8 times as much. Housing, education, and healthcare didn't require decades of crippling debt. Inflation was manageable. And honestly, most importantly, assets were still accessible to the average person. An everyday worker could realistically save up and actually buy a home or invest.
But here is the brutal revelation of this explainer. Modern wealth is no longer primarily built by exchanging your labor for a paycheck. It is built through ownership. The world changed way faster than the financial advice did. Today, the economy heavily rewards those who own investments, businesses, real estate, and scalable systems, leaving those who only sell their time incredibly vulnerable. When you compare the labor economy to the asset economy, the divide is wild. With labor, you earn income exactly once for the work you do, but assets? They generate income repeatedly. A salary is permanently tied to your finite time. You only have so many hours in a day. Assets, on the other hand, literally grow while you sleep. They scale globally, whether that's through stocks, business systems, or digital products. The wealthy are hyper-focused on owning these systems, while the average worker is stuck in a loop trading hours for a flat wage.
Which brings us to the silent wealth killers. Inflation has quietly just destroyed the old model. Every single year, the essential costs of surviving, like food, rent, healthcare, education, are pushed exponentially higher. Meanwhile, wage growth remains largely stagnant. It's completely failing to keep pace with these rising modern expenses. The gap between what you earn and what it costs to simply exist is constantly, relentlessly widening.
And this dynamic creates a feeling that is so deeply relatable today. You look at your paycheck and realize, wait, I make more money than I did 5 years ago, but somehow life feels harder. That feeling is incredibly real. Even when you get a raise, your actual purchasing power is shrinking, all because the cost of everyday life is inflating way faster than your financial stability can grow.
Add social media to that inflation mix, and boom, you get the ultimate comparison trap. We are constantly bombarded with fake success and luxury lifestyles online, creating this immense psychological pressure. Modern consumer culture basically profits off our insecurity, tricking us into spending our dwindling wealth just to appear successful online. We end up completely trapped in financial stress, emotionally exhausted, and pushed even further away from owning real assets.
And when you inevitably feel emotionally exhausted by this whole trap, what's society's brilliant answer? Modern hustle culture steps in and just yells at you to work harder, wake up at 5 a.m., take an ice bath, grind. It puts the burden entirely back on your shoulders, insisting that raw, brute force effort is the only way out, while completely ignoring the structural economic issues we just talked about. The truth is, the system itself has become fundamentally inefficient for workers. Welcome to the burnout economy. Over the last few decades, technology has massively increased our productivity. We are producing way more value than ever before, but workers did not receive proportional financial rewards for that massive spike in output. Instead, people are left overworked, underpaid, and emotionally drained. The extra value generated by technology? Yeah, that went to the owners of the systems, not the laborers. So, if blind effort is basically a trap, and if hard work alone no longer guarantees financial freedom in the modern world, what should you actually do instead? How do you escape a game where the rules are stacked against selling your time?
It's time to learn the new rules of wealth. Here is your adaptability toolkit. The people who are surviving and thriving today aren't just selling their time, they are prioritizing ownership. They build specialized skills that machines can't easily replicate. They utilize leverage, meaning they use tools, capital, or other people to multiply their effort. They create scalable income streams, and they ruthlessly prioritize investing and digital opportunities to build assets that actually work for them.
Look, the absolute biggest mistake you can make right now is clinging to the old belief that if I just work harder, everything will eventually work out. That is a recipe for lifelong burnout. The actual solution requires taking a step back, developing adaptability, sharpening your financial intelligence, and learning how to apply leverage to your life. It's about working smarter within the framework of this new economy.
Now, to be super clear, I'm not saying you get to just be lazy. Hard work absolutely still matters. But the vital takeaway is this: direction now matters much more than effort alone. You can run as fast as you possibly can, but if you're running on a treadmill, you aren't going to get anywhere. Working incredibly hard on the wrong financial model, one based purely on exchanging time for money, will just keep you stuck for decades. So, I'll leave you with this final, crucial thought. Since effort without a strategic direction is just a trap that keeps you exhausted, what steps will you take today to change your direction? Are you ready to stop just working hard and start understanding how systems, leverage, and ownership actually work? Because in the modern world, understanding the system is the very first step to finally escaping it.